Welcome to SKNIS Perspectives,
an interactive program of the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, aired weekly on this radio station.
On today's edition,
I felt on top of the world because here was I, as still a youngster, with an opportunity like this, something that I can tell you I will remember until I die. We march on, everybody excited, and then when the moment came and we had to play the national anthem. But when I look at persons crying, tears coming down their eyes when they see the flag being raised, and you can't even speak about it. It's just unbelievable. It was awesome.
Captain Nigel Williams of the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force Band reflects on the first time the national anthem was played. It was at midnight on Monday, September 19th, 1983. I'm Ian Richards, and this is Perspectives. The first time the national anthem of St. Kitts and Nevis was played was a sentimental moment for almost everyone born on the two sister islands. Nigel Williams remembers it like yesterday because he led the band that proudly belted out the tune. Mr. Williams is our guest today, and he will touch on that memorable moment as well as the evolution of the band, his feelings on the 30th anniversary of independence, and last Friday's drill competition, which was a hit with the public. But first, we begin with his personal introduction to the band.
Well, I started my music career in the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force Band as a beginner in 1968. I did some theory, and then later on I started to play the E-flat French horn. The leader of the band during those days was Captain Valentine Morris. He was the director of music. From there, I learned other instruments, and, well, let's put it this way. They didn't put me into the band officially until 1970 because it was difficult to find uniforms for me because I was pretty small at that point. So I joined the band, became a member of the band in 1970. I spent a few years in the same rank, which was called boy during those days, because I was too young to be called a private. And on becoming a private, a few years after, I was given a stripe, and later on I worked my way, continued playing with the band for many years. By that time I practically learned nearly all the instruments in the band. Then in 1983, after Captain Morris left the band, I became the band master. At that time, I was a warrant officer. I became the band master as a warrant officer, class 2. And when I became an officer, immediately I automatically became the director of music, because you can't be the director of music as a warrant officer. You have to be an officer. So I've been in charge of the band from 1983 until the present.
And 1983 certainly is a significant year for us. That, of course, is when we achieved independence. Tell us on your reflections in terms of 30 years ago. What was it like?
As the leader of the band, my first official function happened to be independence, our first independence. So that was really a challenge. At that time, I was young and I was ambitious, It was really exciting for me because I had the opportunity to be leading the band for our independence. Our band was pretty small at the time, and there was another band in St. Kitts that used to do marches and things like that. The police band that used to play in Nevis during the time when we do the parades in St. Kitts. It was an opportunity where we put both bands together. So the police band then, the members of the police band, had to wear uniform like the Defence Force band. They wore the red and black. The only difference with them and us is that we had the plain black pants, they had the black pants with the white police stripe. But we look as one band, but it really was a combined band of the Defence Force and the police band. It was the most exciting moment up to now in my musical career, because not only, again, we played for that parade, but it was the first time that the national anthem would have been played. And to be the person responsible, I mean, that was really exciting for me. But there was another occasion in that parade, because it was at midnight. And before we played, there was a visiting band from the Royal Marines that performed earlier in the evening before the parade itself got into full swing. And I mean, they were really great, and the general public, St. Kitts public, really received them. But we were in the dark waiting to come on for the real parade. And I can remember when they finished just before the time, because everything was to a particular time. And our drums started to play. So that people recognize, okay, the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force band is coming on now. The shouts and the excitement of the people, I tell you, I've never up to now felt anything like that. I felt so good. We came on playing a song by the name of Imperial Echoes. Imperial Echoes is one of those British marches, and I tell you, it's like, wow, is this real? People saw it, but then, you know, it was our independence, and everybody was really, really thinking. And I felt on top of the world, because here was I, as still a youngster, with an opportunity like this, something that I tell you I will remember until I die. We march on, everybody excited, and then when the moment came and we had to play the national anthem, not only we played that and I was in charge and so on, which feel good about that, but when I look at persons crying, you know, tears coming down their eyes when they see the flag being raised, and it was, you can't even speak about it. It's just unbelievable. It was awesome. That moment is the highlight of my career with the Defence Force Band. Presently, I'm still with the band, and the band has grown tremendously since.
Right, because I do want to ask you about that. It's 30 years later. Talk to us first about the development that you would have seen taking place in the country, and then speak a bit about the evolution of the band since then.
From 1983 until now, there are so many changes within the country that even sometimes when I look back at some pictures and I look at the places today, it's like, wow, we reached this far. Could use a good example, Warner Park. Warner Park has been totally transformed. And as a matter of fact, the same parade was held in Warner Park. Of course, there wasn't those kind of what we call a stadium and things like that. You know, there was just the old pavilion. But the whole shape of the park, that is total change. The grounds, the way it used to be for parades, totally different. Because now we use what we call the cricket ground, and we use the football ground sometimes. Those days it was just one area we used, you know, because there was only one place with those kind of, with a little stand, we used to call them stands, that you could have used. And I am impressed, I am really pleased to see what we have come to during those years. In terms of the band, I can remember, for example, when I started in 1968, we used to play. As a matter of fact, I did not have an instrument to play. We just used to use, some of us just used to use our mouth, and we make sounds like paw, and somebody, the person instructed us, said, rest, 2, 3, 4, paw, 1, 2, ready, begin, paw, 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 and things like that. And that's how it was until like I said, I went to play the French horn, and at that time when I went to play the French horn, it was shared. That French horn was shared among 3 of us. So one day somebody will have it, another day somebody else will have it, and things like that. I know that's not really a nice thing for blowing instruments especially, but that is how it was. It took us a while sharing those instruments, and even though the band was small, there really wasn't enough. Since then, we have been fortunate. We have received instruments. The government has put a lot of money into it as well. We were fortunate to get help one time from the French government. We got some pieces there. And the last of the instruments that we received came from the Taiwanese. since that, whereas the band in 1983 might have been something like 22 persons, the band today is at least 60 strong. And we have instruments for everyone. So, I mean, that is a tremendous improvement. In 1983, we used to wear a different uniform, a red and black uniform. The band used to wear a red and black uniform. That is still a part of the Defense Force band uniform. We haven't worn it for a while, but sometime in the future we're going to have, because officially it is a part of the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force band uniform. And we also wear the regular uniform like all the other members of the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force. The opportunities of being in the band is tremendous. Not only, again, that we learn to play music, play instruments, but we all learn to read music there. And I can tell you something, free of cost.
So tell us a bit now about the performance for Independence Day, the parade. What was it like being back up there, and how did the band perform in your view?
Well, like everything else, you have a lot of years, and to keep any organization strong for all those years, you will be times when you're up and down, and sometimes it's better. Sometimes we have there's some periods where we have some very good players, and then for some reason people have to leave to study, or people go and get a job else, different things that sometimes we lose members. But fortunately for us, young people always come in, so it don't take us too long. This year, Independence 2013, which is 30 years later, band played excellent in spite of being handicapped, where we had one of our bass player, our main bass player, who unfortunately got in an accident just before the parade. But in spite of that, we had the other players, other bass players, and we were still able to produce to the standard that is expected by the general public. And maybe to some, they thought it might have been the best performance. I don't want to say it is, but I'm pleased with what we did for Independence 2013.
All right, let's shift gears just a bit now, of course. You're a music specialist, the music specialist for the Department of Culture, and you organized the drill competition. Tell us a bit about how that came about, in terms of why you thought it would be a good idea to have a drill competition as part of Independence 30 celebrations.
For Independence 2013, the Department of Culture, even before, we were always been thinking about bringing back what we call the Arts Festival. And as a result of that, in discussion with the authorities of the Department of Culture and the minister, we decided this was the right year to bring back the Arts Festival. So the Department of Culture was charged with the responsibilities of putting it together. Thus, we came up with quite a few activities, which included the drill competition, which was done for the first time. There have been drill competitions before, but as a part of Independence and a part of an art festival. The drill competition this year, I thought about it because of something I knew of long ago, and I thought, people of St. Kitts love drills. We see it every year, it's something, it's a part of our culture as far as I am concerned. And to have a drill competition would be something really exciting and something that the general public will appreciate. Thus, we came up with the idea, and the authorities agreed it was a good idea. I contacted the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force for assistance, and we also got in touch with various organizations, which included the police, the big company of the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force, the St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force Band, the St. Kitts Nevis Cadet Corps, Custom and Excise, Ross University, Her Majesty Prison, and the Fire Department.
And they all performed at the Bay Road on Friday. A large crowd turned out. Did you expect such support from the public?
To be quite honest, I expected a crowd, but it was about 10 times my expectations. As a matter of fact, one of the things we are looking at right now is that we had planned to do this every 2 years, and we are seriously considering having it next year. Two, we recognize that, for example, we didn't have barriers there, and we recognized this function, and people so excited about it, we cannot have this thing without, because it was so exciting, people couldn't resist almost going on and eat the competitors, They were so excited, and like I said, the crowd was about 10 times larger than we expected. I really want to thank the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force for the assistance they gave to us, the Department of Culture, especially Major Percival, because he was with me from beginning to the end. I also want to thank all the participants, because as far as I'm concerned, they were all winners. I really have to pick out those that excel, that they got positions. The custom and excise, they won the competition, and they were followed by the police, and in third place we had the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force B Company. The members of the custom and excise that won, it was Kajali Gomes. He came first as an individual, and his team member Sharima Stanley, she placed third overall. So customs really dominated. The person that placed second as an individual was Jamal Wyatt of the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force B Company. And third, like I said before, it was Sharima Stanley of the customs, who tied Akeem Hendrickson of the police force. But like I said, every team, and I look at them, they were all winners. My favorite, of course, would have been the Defence Force band, as a bandman, but sometimes you can't win everything. So I accept the loss, and I know I will return and make sure that the band do better next year.
What would you say, Nigel, being a member of a military organization yourself, that drill offers to a person individually and professionally in terms of how it translates to their personal lives and the type of character that a person is?
The most important thing about drills is discipline. The way you respond to orders. Because you recognize, especially if you have an army, you do not want people, when you give an order, they asking a ton load of questions and waiting for all kind of thing, and then everybody die. You want people who will respond, and you must have that. You must develop that kind of discipline. And the first order to get that done is to teach you drills. Anyone who learns drills and really learn it properly, I can bet that person is a real disciplined person. I've witnessed it over the years. Many persons who join these organizations like the police, the defense force, their behavior is definitely different to most other persons in the society, and a lot of it is based from the drills. That ability to respond immediately without asking, to have confidence in your authority. And it's not only now with the defense force and police, but as you realize, even the local security companies is carrying out the same procedures. So, which is good for the federation on a whole. Another thing about drill, and again come back to discipline, it don't only include that you march and you look good and things like that, but it's even the way you dress. And that is quite something. I know my son he lives in the States, and even when he's in college, they learn, they are taught how to dress when they're going for an interview and things like that. It's very important. So there's a lot of things that people can benefit from. And I really want to thank organizations like Ross University Security, which is a private company, Mr. Duplessis, for the interest he showed and making sure he had a team represented there. And of course, most of the times when people think about drills, they think about the police and the defense force, and I want to big up the commander of the defense force as well, and also the commissioner of police. And sometimes they don't remember places like the prisons and customs, who won, and those other organizations that really participated. And I really want to thank all teams and all organizations that saw the importance of this event, not only for entertainment, but for development of young people.
Captain Nigel Williams. Just a few footnotes before we go. The Brimstone Hill recital planned by the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force Band had to be rescheduled for October. Be sure to listen to local reports for more information. And also, as we continue to celebrate 30 years of nationhood, be sure to tune in to the live address of Prime Minister the Right Honourable Dr. Denzel Douglas at the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly this Friday at around 11 a.m. You can catch a live web feed of the event at gadebate.un.org. That's our program this week. Be sure to visit our Facebook page at SKNIS St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service to view photos of the Independence Parade, drill competition, and much more. For now, I'm Ian Richards.
We're pleased that you joined us for this edition of SKNIS Perspectives. Join us every week at this same time on this radio station.
This program is produced by the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.